Welcome to another episode of Into the Pot, the show where I review different pieces of media, what they meant to me, and how they've added flavor to the stew of my life. Today we're talking about the latest Pixar movie, Elio. As always, I'll start with the good, then the bad, and finish off with the themes and details that resonated with me. Beware, there will be spoilers ahead. So let's go ahead and start off with the good. I have to be completely honest with you all. I had very low expectations of Elio, primarily fueled because I didn't see a lot about it, and it looked really childish as a movie. So my expectations were really low. But the good news is Elio is actually a really good movie. Surprisingly, I was way more invested and I felt way more emotionally attached than I thought I would. Since it's a Pixar movie, we have to talk about the animation. And I think the animation is superb. I think it's gorgeous. The space scenes look absolutely spectacular. But I do think they've adopted this sort of Pixar animation style ever since Luca. So Luca, Turning Red, now this one, they all feel very similar in terms of animation, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not also the best thing after all. There's a lot of character designs that do feel very safe, and I feel like this movie, although it's beautiful, does feel very generic in its animation compared to other Pixar movies of the past, being like Bug's Life, Wall-E, Cars. They're very different in terms of character models. Elio felt very similar to character models of the past. But regardless, the animation looks beautiful. The sound design was amazing. There's a moment in the movie where everything goes silent, and that was such a good moment that I was like, ooh, this feels really well done. The characters were very endearing. I actually really like the characters, even though that most of them I don't remember their name. But overall, what I think really made the characters was the voice acting. I was really hesitant, especially hearing Elio's voice is very young. I was worried that it would not come off as a mature, more emotional piece like other Pixar movies have done. But they did a great job, a really great job with the voice acting. And I really like the overall feel of the movie. But though I think what really saved the movie for me was the themes that it represented. And I will talk about that once we get to the themes. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the bad. There's not too much that I can really say that was bad about the movie, but I do think it's primarily because I'm not the intended audience for most of these scenes. Primarily the first half of the movie, where I felt it was very childish. It was very kid-friendly. It was very entertaining. It was very colorful. It was very exciting. And to be honest, it didn't feel mature. Say what you will, the fact that it felt really childish to me didn't really get me invested as much as I would hope to. I think the movie starts off brilliantly with learning that his parents has passed away, his aunt is taking care of him, and now he's feeling like a burden. But they quickly jump into him focusing on the alien aspect, him getting over there, and him having just a blast. There's tons of fun moments and exciting things, like they're going down the sort of toilet and everything else like that, which I don't dock the movie off points from that. But I do notice that the second half was way more emotionally impactful and felt better in terms of storytelling than the first half, even though the first half was mainly set up. Another bad thing about the movie is, though the characters, Elio and his aunt, are very much at the heart of the movie, the other aliens do feel kind of random. I don't really remember any of their names. And seeing those characters, they're not really fleshed out and they just feel like more of comical aliens. And though I know sci-fi can be a really, really scary genre, especially when you're in space, I think that they touched on very scary elements, which was very cool. But at the end of the day, it felt very safe and childish, especially because of the fact that Elio felt very lost in his life. And he immediately found this sort of whole conglomerate where they were all just like well-reasoned, very nice individuals. And I was like, oh, that's very convenient. Although I know that's not at the heart of the movie, it did feel super safe and super sheltered in a way too. So I think that's the biggest sort of gripe for me. I think it did feel a little childish with its themes, but it does make up for it in the second half because the themes are the things that really made this movie shine for me and especially resonated so much with me and made me realize how much I love space and how much I love sci-fi. So let's go ahead and talk about those themes and details that really resonated with me, because we need to talk about Elio and its themes. From a sci-fi standpoint, I really love the idea that sci-fi has always been a uniting genre. When you look at other contemporary works or other genres like fantasy and everything else like that, you often have like different races, different classes, and they're like dwarfs, elves, and so many things, but they come together, right? And that's very beautiful. But sci-fi has always been about humans and then aliens, right? The very divisions that we have in humanity sort of become second place because now we find ourselves very separate from everyone else. So the idea of this sort of isolationary feeling that we feel often goes away when you're talking about sci-fi because, hey, we got to come together. We're humans after all. We're all together in this. And that is something that I really love about sci-fi as a genre, especially because sci-fi involving space feels very lonely. And I think that's something we all feel today. Everyone feels this sort of profound sense of loneliness. And I think this movie does a great job at showing us that even though you do feel lonely, there are communities out there. And Elio says something really heartwarming at the end where he says, Earth is sort of my home. I didn't give it a chance at first, but now I'm willing to try. And I think that's so well done. I love that about the movie because I think we do feel this sense of finding the sort of right place that we belong rather than trying to make the things that we already are in work. I see this a lot in general. You know, when people say, oh, we're just going to go fly off to Mars and we're going to go colonize Mars and that'll be sort of our solution. It's like, hey, I understand like space is so wonderful and endless possibilities. And I know the human nature is to explore the stars and go find what's out there. But hey, let's try to make Earth work. You know, let's not blow each other up. Let's actually work together as humanity. Because at the end of the day, we're all in here together. And it's really nice to know that this little kid comes to the conclusion that he needs to try to make Earth a home. The answer is not going to be out there for a random group. It's going to be home. It's going to be the people that he loves, the community that he's found. And I really love that aspect, especially when they were blasting off into space and the aunt and Elio were both trying to figure out the trajectory so they can go to the right location. And all of a sudden, you get this sense of community with humanity, where everyone from different countries, they're all calling in, they're all helping. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. And I love that aspect of sci-fi because we are all human. These sort of social divisions that we've created, religious, cultural, racial, sexuality, like all these sort of divisions are not really important at the end of the day. We're all in this together. And I love that aspect of community. And I think the movie does that really well. Another theme that I really loved about the movie, and the themes are the thing that make the movie for me, was about the sacrifice of parenthood. If you notice with the aunt, she has to sacrifice sort of her career to take care of Elio, which is really weird because of like the live action Lilo and Stitch was like just a month ago and it was like kind of not the same sort of thing. But anyway, the aunt sort of sacrifices her career to take care of Elio because now she's the sole caretaker. And I look at the dad, the alien dad in the mech suit, decides to rip open his mech suit at the very end, which brings in all this shame and rejection of customs to take care of his son. And he wraps the son up in the web that, you know, usually the mother is better at taking care of the son in that sense, or better at wrapping it. And overall, it's just overcoming that sort of sacrifice of how you feel, what your life is, and sort of what society expects of you to sort of be a better caretaker and be a better parent and really just love someone wholly. And I love those themes about the movie. But I think the theme that resonated the most with me, and it's a theme that I struggle with a lot today, is the idea that even if people don't understand you, they still love you. And I think that to me was like one of the hardest hitting moments for me. I was tearing up profusely in the theater because I've, had this feeling for a long time myself. I think to be understood is like the best way you can love someone. But there's not a single person who can understand you in all your complexities. I know this because both my wife and I, we have some differing opinions about things. Sure, we don't like every single same food. Sure, we don't like every single same song, but we try to understand each other the best that we can because we do love each other and we do want to make an effort of doing that. But at the end of the day, if we just can't understand each other in every single aspect, well then that doesn't mean that they love you any less. They still love you tremendously. And I love that part about the movie and how explicit it is with that because the aunt doesn't understand Elio. She wasn't expecting to be a parent. And now she's trying to understand him. She's trying to take interest, learning his own language because of the fact that she loves him. And even though she doesn't understand him completely, she's willing to try. And I love this also at the very end when everyone is saying their goodbyes to Elio. They turn off the translating service that he had before they say goodbye. And we hear all the aliens distinctly saying random things that we don't understand. But Elio knows exactly what they're saying because he doesn't need to understand them to know that they love him. And I think that's such a heartwarming message that I struggle with a lot. I feel like the world doesn't know me, doesn't understand me. So many people in this world don't understand each other. But at the end of the day, it's willing to try to understand each other and to show love and care, even if we don't feel it all the time. So that's my biggest takeaway from the movie. And I love that so much about Elio. I think to be understood is to be loved. But at the same time, if they don't understand us, that does not mean they don't love us. And it's very hard to remind yourself of that every single day because life is very difficult. And there are so many polarizing topics today that it's insanely hard to find someone who just understands you on every single level. But just know, even without that, they love you so much. So, with all that in mind, I would gladly give Elio an 8.5 out of 10. Again, it was greatly hindered by the childish feel of it, and I feel like I'm just not the intended audience for that. But overall, it was such a heartwarming message, and I think it's one of Pixar's better movies, but not its best. So there you have it. I gave you my thoughts and opinions about what Elio meant to me, and now I want to hear what you all think about it down in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with my opinions and the general consensus about it? Let me know, and if you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like and subscribing for more. As always, check the links in the description for my main video essay channel and my Patreon to support the channel and recommend media for me to review next. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.